I wanted this week to talk just about the fiscal challenge as an institution, and why you set this up, and how it works. What are some of the teaching goals here?
Great. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for being a supporter of our students. I guess the first way to start this is explain what we are and then maybe why I put it together. The Fiscal Challenge is an educational nonprofit. We're sponsored by PGPF. I started it back in 2013, and our mission is to enhance students' understanding of fiscal policy. And like the audience might have heard from last week's podcast, we do it with a competition, experiential education. And maybe we could get into the details, but to your question, Bob, about why, I'm an educator. I teach at UNC Chapel Hill and at Duke, and I was about a decade ago, actually, teaching a course in intermediate macro. And what I noticed was that there was a big gap, not just in my class, but in a lot of classes, and not just at UNC, but in many colleges, that the students don't really get enough to touch and understand fiscal policy. We do a lot on monetary policy and the Fed and financial markets, but not a lot on fiscal policy. And I thought that was a shame, because I think you could make an argument that fiscal policy is just as, if not more important than monetary policy as it pertains to touching our daily lives. So that was the motivation.
I had the privilege of talking to the students, and I must say that, they always ask good questions at the end, and that's what's fun to talk to them about. And sometimes they ask about things that, I hadn't thought about, and sort of it gives me an opportunity to be quick on my feet if I can. So it really, they do seem to get a lot out of it. So my function was just to talk to them and answer some questions. Phil, you were there the whole time. You have some questions for Mike? You're muted.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Mike, for being with us today. And I enjoyed being the MC of the Fiscal Challenge this year. It was an absolute pleasure. It gave me so much hope to see these students present. If you spend a lot of time reading articles from around the nation, or if you read polling data, you can lose a lot of hope, right? Because there's a lot of bad information out there. And when you put bad data in, you're going to get bad data out. These students have taken the time to research fiscal policy, to come to some conclusions, and to offer up some solutions. In many ways, they've gone far beyond what our Washington lawmakers do. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm a person who searches for hope, right? Because our challenges are just so large for this, and I found it at the Fiscal Challenge. So I guess part of my question is, what do the students gain from it? Do they haven't been fighting in the trenches on these issues and trying to educate people for all these years. They're just now discovering these issues. But what do you think the students gain from this experience?
The fact that you said hope and you were inspired by that is inspiring to me. I love that. I hear that comment often from friends and family. Oh, kids these days, they don't care about this stuff. And then I tell them about what we do and how these students are taking time out of their day, after classes, after part-time jobs, to work on this. It is really inspiring and hopeful. So to your question though, every year we put out a survey and we talk to the students, ask them, well, why did you do this? What did you get out of this? And there's always a top four. First is the educational component. That's the first one they always say. Now, they're answering it to a professor, so maybe take that with a grain of salt, but they say just from working on this exercise throughout the few months that they do so is equivalent to paying the tuition for like a 400 level class. Imagine something you would take your junior or senior year. So that would be one. 2 out of the 4 is networking. They love talking to like-minded students. They love meeting the guest speakers and the judges. And actually, it was maybe 3 years ago where one of our guest speakers found an intern from the pool of candidates there. So the networking is fantastic. The 3rd out of the 4 is team building. I'm a nerd. I don't play a lot of sports, and I think a lot of our students, maybe I'm the chief nerd, and we want to be able to actually participate in those types of team environments, but without the sports, it's not always as easy. this gives us and gives them a way to do so. The fourth, time and time again, resume building, right? These are college students. So part of their objective function is to get that next job. It looks great on the resume. It's unique, it's deep, it's analytical, it checks so many boxes for the students. So those are usually the four that we hear.